Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with a simple question. How many times have you smiled even when your heart was hurting? How many times have you stayed in a place where your presence was ignored, your effort unnoticed, and your respect forgotten? Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something very simple. Have you ever walked into a room, smiled at people, tried to be warm, tried to be kind, but deep inside you felt invisible? You were present, yet it felt like your presence didn't matter. Many people experience this every day. They keep smiling, they keep giving, they keep adjusting, hoping that one day their efforts will be noticed. But sometimes that day never comes. There is a very important lesson life teaches us, and unfortunately many of us learn it very late. Not every place deserves your energy, and not every person deserves your smile. Think about a lamp. A lamp shines wherever it is placed. But imagine placing that lamp in a room where everyone chooses to close their eyes. The room remains dark, not because the lamp is weak, but because people refuse to see the light. In the same way, sometimes your kindness, your loyalty, and your goodness are not appreciated simply because the environment around you does not understand their value. Many people make the mistake of measuring their worth based on how others treat them. If someone ignores them, they start thinking, maybe I am not good enough. If someone disrespects them, they start questioning their own value. But the truth is, someone's inability to appreciate you does not reduce your worth. Imagine a priceless diamond lying in a vegetable market. The vegetable seller may look at it and say, it's just a stone. But if you take the same diamond to a jeweler, his eyes will sparkle. The diamond did not change. Only the place changed. Sometimes in life, the problem is not who you are, but where you are standing. Many people stay in places where they are not valued because they fear losing relationships. They think, if I stop adjusting, people will leave me. But constantly ignoring your self-respect just to keep others comfortable slowly damages your inner peace. Respecting yourself is not arrogance. It is awareness of your own dignity. There is a beautiful balance in life. Be kind, but don't be weak. Be humble, but don't allow people to treat you as if you don't matter. When people see that you value yourself, they automatically begin to respect you more. Sometimes the most powerful decision you can make is not to argue, not to complain, but simply to walk away from environments that drain your energy. Walking away does not mean you hate anyone. It simply means you have chosen peace over unnecessary pain. Life becomes lighter when you start giving your time and presence to people who genuinely appreciate you. In the right environment, even small efforts are valued. In the right company, even your silence is respected. And remember this beautiful truth. The sun does not stop shining just because some people choose to stay in the shade. In the same way, your value does not decrease because someone failed to recognize it. So protect your smile. It is a very precious thing. Do not waste it in places where it is ignored. Share it where it brings warmth, where it spreads joy, and where it is returned with respect. Because life becomes truly meaningful when your smile is not forced, but naturally appreciated. Sometimes in life we try very hard to belong everywhere. We try to fit into every group, please every person, and adjust to every situation. We believe that if we keep smiling, if we keep being nice, if we keep sacrificing our comfort, people will eventually appreciate us. But life quietly teaches a very powerful lesson. Not every place deserves your presence, and not every person understands your value. There is a small story that beautifully explains this idea. Once a musician played his violin in a busy subway station. Thousands of people walked past him. Some were rushing to work. Some were busy with their phones. Some didn't even notice him. Only a few stopped for a moment. Most people ignored the music completely. Later people discovered that the musician was one of the finest violinists in the world, playing an instrument worth millions. The music was extraordinary, but the place and the environment did not allow people to appreciate it. Life is often like that. Sometimes your talent, your kindness, your loyalty, and your effort are not valued simply because the environment around you is too busy, too distracted, or too indifferent to notice them. And when this happens repeatedly, people start blaming themselves. They begin to think something must be wrong with them. But the truth is, nothing is wrong with you. If a seed is planted in the wrong soil, it does not grow properly. But that does not mean the seed is useless. It only means the soil was not suitable. In the right soil, the same seed can grow into a beautiful tree that provides shade, fruits, and life to many. Many of us keep watering relationships that never grow. We invest time, effort, emotions, and patience. Yet the response we receive is indifference or disrespect. Slowly our confidence starts fading. Our smiles become heavier. Our hearts become tired. At that moment, it is important to pause and ask ourselves an honest question. Am I staying here out of love, or am I staying here out of fear? Fear of losing people often keeps us in places where we are not respected. We think that if we stop adjusting, we will be left alone. But sometimes walking away from constant disrespect is the first step towards self-respect. Respect is not something you demand loudly. It is something you demonstrate quietly through the way you treat yourself. When you value your own time, energy, and dignity, others begin to understand that your presence is not something to be taken lightly. This does not mean becoming arrogant or cold. Kindness is still one of the most beautiful qualities a person can have, but kindness should never come at the cost of your inner peace. There is a difference between being humble and allowing yourself to be undervalued. Humility means staying grounded despite your strengths. But allowing people to repeatedly ignore your worth slowly weakens your spirit. The beautiful thing about life is that the world is full of different people and different environments. Somewhere there are people who will appreciate your honesty. Somewhere there are people who will respect your effort. Somewhere there are people who will see the beauty in your character. When you surround yourself with such people, you don't have to force your smile. It appears naturally. Your conversations feel lighter. Your heart feels calmer. So learn to recognize the places where your presence is celebrated rather than merely tolerated. Protect your energy, protect your peace, and most importantly, protect your self-respect. Because when you truly understand your own value, you stop trying to prove it to people who were never willing to see it. Sometimes the most painful experiences in life are not loud arguments or big conflicts. Sometimes the deepest pain comes from silent neglect. You are present. You are giving your time, your effort, your care, yet you feel unseen. You speak, but no one truly listens. You contribute, but no one acknowledges it. In such moments, many people continue to smile on the outside while quietly feeling empty on the inside. Human beings naturally desire appreciation. It is not ego. It is part of being human. When someone values our presence, we feel encouraged. When someone respects our effort, we feel motivated. But when appreciation is missing for a long time, something within us slowly becomes tired. Imagine carrying a bucket of water every day to nurture a plant. You wake up early, you walk a long distance, you water the soil carefully. But weeks pass and the plant shows no sign of growth. One day you realize the plant was artificial. No matter how much water you poured, it was never going to grow. In life, many people unknowingly invest their emotions into situations that are just like that artificial plant. They give attention to people who never truly cared. They give loyalty to people who only appear when they need something. They give kindness to people who treat it as weakness. And slowly their energy begins to fade. There is a quiet wisdom in understanding where your efforts are meaningful and where they are simply being wasted. This understanding does not come from anger, it comes from awareness. Often people stay in environments where they are not valued because they hope things will change. Hope is beautiful, but blind hope can sometimes trap us in cycles of disappointment. When respect and appreciation are absent for a long time, it is important to step back and reflect. Think of a mirror covered in dust. If you look into it, your reflection appears dull and unclear. But the problem is not your face. The problem is the dust on the mirror. When you keep standing in places that distort your worth, you begin to see yourself through that dusty reflection. Gradually you start doubting your abilities. You question your importance. You wonder whether your efforts matter at all. But the truth is that your value has not changed. Only the environment around you has clouded your perception of it. Self-respect begins with a simple realization: your presence has meaning. Your time has value. Your emotional energy is precious. Not everyone deserves access to it. When you begin respecting these truths, something powerful happens. You stop chasing approval. You stop forcing conversations that lead nowhere. You stop smiling just to keep uncomfortable situations peaceful. Instead, your smile becomes genuine again because it is shared in spaces where it is welcomed. Life has an interesting way of rewarding those who protect their inner dignity. When you distance yourself from environments that constantly drain you, you create space for healthier relationships to enter your life. There will always be people who appreciate sincerity, who respect effort, and who recognize the beauty of a good heart. When you encounter such people, interactions feel effortless. You do not have to constantly prove yourself or struggle to maintain your worth. Your smile becomes lighter, your thoughts become clearer, and your heart becomes calmer. So learn to observe carefully where your energy flows. Notice which environments nourish your spirit and which ones slowly exhaust it. Choose wisely where you place your kindness, your loyalty, and your presence. Because life becomes far more peaceful when your smile is shared in places where it is truly valued. In life, many people carry a quiet habit that slowly drains their happiness. They keep trying to prove their worth to people who never truly cared to see it. They try harder, give more, smile more, adjust more, hoping that someday they will finally be appreciated. But the strange thing about life is that the more we try to force acceptance in the wrong places, the more invisible we begin to feel. Think about how a river flows. A river does not stop at every rock and argue with it. It simply changes its path and continues moving forward. The river understands something very powerful. Its purpose is to flow, not to fight every obstacle that stands in its way. Sometimes we forget this wisdom. When we are in places where we are not valued, we start fighting silently. We try to explain ourselves again and again. We try to make people understand our intentions. We try to show our loyalty, our sincerity, our effort. But when someone has already decided not to see your value, no amount of explanation will change their perspective. A teacher once explained this idea with a simple example. Imagine offering a beautiful book to someone who never learned how to read. They may hold the book, flip through the pages, and put it aside. Not because the book has no value, but because the person cannot understand its worth. In the same way, sometimes people fail to appreciate sincerity simply because they lack the awareness to recognize it. Many people take such experiences personally. They begin to think something must be wrong with them. They start changing themselves to gain approval. They hide their opinions, suppress their personality, and reduce their presence just to avoid being ignored or criticized. But constantly shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's expectations slowly damages your confidence. Over time, you may forget the strength, uniqueness, and kindness that once defined you. Self-respect begins the moment you understand that your worth does not depend on constant validation from others. It comes from recognizing the dignity within yourself. When you respect your own boundaries, people learn how to treat you. This does not mean becoming harsh or unfriendly. It simply means choosing wisely where you invest your emotional energy. Your time, attention, and care are valuable resources. When given to the right people, they create strong and meaningful relationships. When given to the wrong environments, they slowly exhaust your spirit. There is a beautiful feeling that arises when you are surrounded by people who genuinely value you. Conversations become natural. Your ideas are heard. Your efforts are acknowledged. In such spaces, you do not have to force your smile, it appears effortlessly. In contrast, when you stay in environments where appreciation is absent, even simple interactions begin to feel heavy. You start overthinking small things. You wonder whether your presence matters. Gradually, what should have been a place of connection becomes a source of emotional fatigue. Life becomes lighter when you learn to step away from such situations with grace. Walking away is not a sign of weakness. It is often a quiet act of courage. It shows that you understand your own worth and refuse to allow it to be constantly ignored. Remember that the world is vast, and every person has a place where they are truly appreciated. Somewhere there are people who will value your honesty, respect your effort, and welcome your presence with warmth. When you find those spaces, your heart feels at ease, your confidence returns, your smile becomes genuine again. And that is when you realize a simple truth. Your smile was never meant to be wasted in places where it was not valued. It was meant to shine where it is truly appreciated. Your smile is precious. Your energy is sacred. Your presence is valuable. Give it to people who recognize your worth, who appreciate your kindness, and who celebrate your existence. Because life is too short to keep smiling in places where you are not valued. Thank you.